Good evening, everyone. Welcome to musicals101.com's I'll Say. I am one of your hosts, theater historian John Kenrick.
Hi, and I'm William McKay, actor in waiting. So, tonight's topic is why do gays like or love Barbra Streisand? One has to ask why. I mean, why would a gay love a female? It's not like, Ryan Reynolds, which of course I don't understand why people obsess over him, but he is who he is. And, I do realize he's married. We have to get over that. But we obsess, over males, but females, what is the deal? So with Barbra Streisand, why? I mean, she just gets almost too much attention. I have a few things on her. I have a book. Which is interesting, but she would not approve of this book. She probably also would not approve of this book, but I have the two books. She's writing her own autobiography. It's supposed to come out soon, whenever. She does approve of this book because it's all about her. Gorgeous pictures, gorgeous pictures. Again, though, I don't understand why gays are accused of being so focused and obsessed on somebody like this. This is Barbra Streisand's book about design. Oh my God, it's like her house and all that sort of stuff. You've heard about her house with the mall downstairs. She has this book about that. Let's see. I have albums, lots of albums, because I'm old, so I still have albums. This is Funny Girl. Wait, a Funny Girl. She won her Oscar for that. Her first. Well, I'm going to say her only acting Oscar. She tied with Katharine Hepburn. But then Funny Lady, which is actually quite entertaining in its own right, although not. Well, you know what? This is not a great movie either, but she's terrific. But this is fun, to some degree. And then we have Hello Dolly, which I decided this weekend because I was watching the news again that I kind of like more than Funny Girl. I know. Any second, John's going to pop on, but that's going to... But it's just, I find it more entertaining. I don't know what. Then off, John, bye. It's my time. There we go. Yentl, perfect movie. A perfect movie, really. She directed this, yet got ignored by the Academy. Doesn't thrill me. Music. There are at least 50 albums. 50. It started with My Name is Barbra Streisand. The company wanted her to call it Sweet and Sassy or something like that. And she said, no, I want people to walk into the store and go, can I have the Barbra Streisand album? And that's what they have. But so terrific. I would like to quickly point out the Broadway album, really cool. And Guilty. Oh my God, it's perfect. It's like butter. The combination with Andy Gibb, it is amazing. This is my yearbook. Why am I showing my yearbook? Because the whole front of it is a montage of pictures for the way we were. I don't know who on the team suggested that, but that's what they did. Oh, I'm hitting the mic. I have so much stuff for somebody that doesn't really care about Barbra. She has other albums, and I have, well, of course, CDs now. I have, a few. This is just some of them. This is her latest. It just came out 2 weeks ago. But if you really want the collection, there's the one. It is beautiful. It's got decades and decades of material, only up to, I think, the 90s, and a beautiful book inside. Absolutely amazing. The pictures, I have a reflection here. When I worked at Record World, one of my best friends while I worked at Record World turned out to be, are you ready for this? Barbra Streisand's cousin's son. Oh my God. So I got it signed. And this is my ticket to her concert. It was supposed to be her last concert. Isn't that amazing? And I got tickets for it. You don't know what I spent because it was going to be her last concert. It wasn't her last concert. She went on to have more. It was still worth it. She does that whole number where with that Papa Can You Hear Me? And she has the girl playing her, and she's got her own movie and the thing. It is absolutely amazing. My wedding picture, Evergreen, was our wedding song, our dance song that night. And of course, there's only so much obsessing one can do. And again, I don't understand why gays love this person, and I would never overdo it. This is my Barbie doll. Isn't it kind of silly? But, it is what it is. It is what it is. And so we are almost done for the most part. I just didn't want to make sure that you knew that I had overdone this to any way, shape, or form. But we also have wallpaper. Thank you, prop people. There we go. John, it is your turn now. It is your turn to discuss as you. So, like, I just have to have my staff now help me take care of this lest I drop. So now you talk. You just talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. So we're going to have some coffee talk, which is why I have the mug. We're going to talk about daughters, about coffee, about Barbara. No big whoop. Just coffee talk. Why don't you clear the props?
You just keep talking. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm listening.
It's like Bette Midler said about why no one wants to get into serious S&M. There's too many accoutrements. All right. Now, folks, I am a reasonable Barbra Streisand fan. I enjoy her. I catch the movies when they're on. Funny Girl, Funny Lady are two of my all-time favorite musical films. I love both of them, quite frankly. I also love Hello, Dolly. I don't think it's quite on par with Funny Girl.
It is not.
No, in my opinion.
Just one is better.
Different approach. Listen, in Funny Girl, she's creating a character. In Hello, Dolly, she does a rather limited Mae West impersonation. So much so that when she met Mae West at a party shortly after the movie opened, she walked up and said, "Oh, Miss West, I'm such an admirer of yours. And Mae West, I know you are, honey. You owe me residuals from Hello, Dolly." And she wasn't kidding. She was, oh, yeah, whatever yourself. You want to start a fight with Mae West? Go right ahead. So let's take a look at Barbra Streisand, life, career, etc. She was born Barbra Joan Streisand. The name is well known.
How do you pronounce that name, John? How do you pronounce it?
Streisand.
Streisand.
Now, Diana Rosen, her mother, her father, Manny Streisand.
Very good. She will
was a New York City high school gym teacher, of all things. Back to you. Here we go. He died August of 1943, Camp Cascade in Highmount, of an epileptic seizure. Some idiotic quack treated him with morphine, and that's what killed him. Barbara was 16 months old. Her mother hid the photos all her early years. And when she said, "Mom, where are all the photos of Dad?" she said, "I didn't want to upset you, Barbara." Her mother is a fascinating woman. She has a brother, Sheldon, slightly older. They moved in with her grandparents because they didn't have any income of their own at first. And her grandmother, Rosen, said that Barbara was verbrennt, which is Yiddish for on fire, because she was just so fiery. And Barbara has said, "I just couldn't accept no for an answer, even from childhood." Now, her mother married Louis Kind, a used car salesman, and 3 months later, their daughter, Rosalind, was born. I'm just doing the math. You figure it out. The parents were both nightmares on Barbara, but always said how wonderful and beautiful Roz was. And when Streisand asked her once, "Mom, was I a pretty baby?" her mother said, "What's pretty? Look what good it did your sister." I'm sorry. Wow. Talk about merciless. And that's nothing compared to what lay ahead. But Barbara began to come into her own in high school, as many of us do. And for her, high school meant Erasmus High School, one of the great schools in the New York City public school system, still one of the finest. And it was there she evolved from one kind of Barbara to another. And we all go through huge changes. But she also began to realize that she didn't just want to be an actor. That dream had started by her going to the movies. She says that the dream began for her when she saw Guys and Dolls, and she just fell for gorgeous young, what's his name? Everyone thinks he's an actor. He played The Godfather. Help me, Bill.
Marlon Brando.
That's right. So she fell for Marlon Brando, who I still think is one of the most overrated people in the history of acting. But that's just me.
God.
Oh, yeah. We can get into that some other time.
Oh.
Now, she was befriended by a young gay actor in New York, Barry Dennen. Barry went on to some success in his career. He was the original Pontius Pilate in Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway.
Oh.
But before any of that, he would have Barbra, who he just considered, he became like a big brother to her. He would have her come to his apartment, and he would play a little accompaniment on the side and show her. He would make these cassette tapes and prove to her that she could sing. They would try, basic Broadway songs, etc. Years later, when she was putting that box set together that you mentioned, she sent her lawyers. They descended on Barry Dennen, who had not heard from her in years, demanding that he hand over those tapes or else. And he told them where they could go. That's why none of those tapes wound up on Barbra's box set. It was rather unkind coming from her to someone who'd been an early supporter. Her first big success came in nightclubs, performing at the Bonsoir, which
I'm just gonna interrupt you briefly. Her first nightclub was a gay nightclub. I didn't even know that till recently. The Lion Club. The Bonsoir's the biggie, but Lion Club. The first performances were at a gay nightclub. Just saying. Why do gays love her? Go on.
But the Bonsoir is where the phenomenon began.
Yes.
My friend Dawn Hampton was the MC that night. She was a great cabaret performer in her own right, and she's told me when Barbra got up on that stage and started singing, a lot of people had seen her before, but there was something that had just finally clicked in her own performing style. And it was while she was at the Bonsoir, because she would continue to perform there over several years, that a guy named Julie Stein would see her and catch his eye. But we'll get to that momentarily. She was in her first Broadway musical was I Can Get It For You Wholesale. She played Miss Marmalstein. She had really a small part in one song and one solo. All they do is call for Miss Marmalstein, Miss Marmalstein, Miss Marmalstein, Miss Marmalstein. It was hilarious because of her. I have seen other people try to play this part, and it's not easy. It requires a virtuoso self knowledge, the kind of talent that only she had, and that kind of self knowledge.
And she insisted on sitting because the director was like, "Why would you sit? No one sits." And she decided to sit with the role. This is her beginning. Well, not the beginning, but go. I want it done my way.
Oh yeah, she has always had an excellent instinct about what works for her.
She has an eye.
Oh yeah. She started getting attention on television in 1963. She was a guest on Judy Garland's show, and when we did our Judy episode, we saw a scene from this. You folks can find this on YouTube. Judy and Barbra singing Happy Days Are Here Again is one of the most iconic moments in American entertainment. It's just glorious. That same year, in November of 1963, she sang at an event for John F. Kennedy. And she was so thrilled, and you can see her here meeting the president, getting his autograph. So exciting. And it was just days later that he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. And that was a traumatic event for her, as it was for many. It's still my first memory as a child. It was not long after that she met this man, Ray Stark, who would change her life forever. Because Ray Stark was working on producing a new Broadway musical. And here's the thing. How many people produce a Broadway musical about their mother-in-law? Well, his mother-in-law was none other than Fanny Brice. Anyone who has seen Funny Girl knows the basics of who Fanny Brice was. She was the greatest of Ziegfeld's female stars, and she never had to show her legs to do it. She was a brilliant comedian, a heartbreaking torch singer, one of the great comic talents of her time. But she had died at an early age. She only made it into her 50s, I believe. It was in the 1940s that she passed away while working on her radio show. The first director of the show wound up being fired because he couldn't work with Barbra. And so they brought someone in who was, if anything, someone who would pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Was not.
It's like, what is that? Oh my God. Okay, go on.
Things happen. The one person in the business who had as tough a reputation as Barbra's Jerome Robbins. Now, Jerome Robbins, as my students will tell you, I call him the son of Satan. The man was the most brilliant director, choreographer musical theater has ever known, and also the rottenest human being who has ever walked the face of the planet Earth. He destroyed people's careers. He destroyed people's lives. He destroyed people's sanity, all in the sake for the sake of feeding his own ego and protecting his own ass. He destroyed people. But
what makes I'm just going to say what Barbra Streisand's reputation has always been that she's particular and she wants things her way and she does this and she does that, and you know what? Good, because she accomplishes what she accomplishes. But do we ever really hear? I'm sure you might, and I'm not being sarcastic, that you might go, "Oh, I have something to say about that," but we don't hear about how she beat down somebody or ruined somebody's career, or we never hear that. At least I've never heard about it. And all the people in her films seem to, who didn't like her.
She did not help one person's career. Okay. Miss Kazan, because Miss Kazan was her standby in Funny Girl, and Barbara missed a couple of performances. You see, Funny Girl had one of those. Oh yeah, it had one of those tortured preview periods where the previews went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's when they brought in Jerome Robbins and he restaged the show. Well, amid all the pressure and all the changes, Barbara handled it pretty well, but it was just too much of a strain on anyone, and she missed a few performances. She was suffering from she picked up a viral infection. Yeah. And Miss Kazan, Lainey Kazan, stepped into the role and was electrifying, and audiences loved her. Barbara never wanted to hear that again, and she had every pressure placed upon Lainey Kazan until she withdrew from the production and she didn't want to risk bumping into Barbara again, and never did, as far as I know. The bad blood between them remained.
Oh, well. But for the most part,
the show itself. But luckily, Barbara did not fight Jerome Robbins. She had respect for the man. And the two of them worked very well together. Sometimes two monsters, one great show can make. And the show they made is, in my opinion, a highly entertaining one. The script, in my opinion, is far better than it gets credit for. I think the new revival will prove that. Here you see her with her maid behind her. She's sitting, having just walked up, looked into the fake mirror and said, "Hello, gorgeous." Sitting next to her in the middle of this photo is Kay Medford playing her mother. And all the way over on the left-hand side of the photo, playing Mrs. Straykosh, is, of course, Jean Stapleton, who would later use the exact same voice when she played Edith Bunker in All in the Family. And that's not the way she normally talked. She created that for Damn Yankees, reused it here, and then reused it as Edith. Streisand's performance was massive and was a Tony-winning event.
Wait, what? No.
She didn't win a Tony at all?
She's only gotten a special Tony, a weird Tony for Star of the Decade.
Because
she lost to Carol Channing.
Carol Channing, how ironic, in Hello, Dolly.
Yes.
One thing that she won was the heart of her co-star, the original Nick Arnstein on Broadway. The gentleman you see here, Saul Chaplin. Saul Chaplin, as in the son of the legendary Charlie Chaplin. He was a star of several other Broadway shows over the years, including the original Bells Are Ringing, where he co-starred with Judy Holliday. He was very popular, very well liked, and Barbara fell for him like a ton of bricks, even though he was married, and so was she. She was married to Elliot Gould at the time. And the plan was, after her last performance in the show, which was also scheduled to be his, they were going to go off together. At the end of that last performance, she disappeared from the theater and never spoke to Saul Chaplin again. And he never got a single word from her as to why. During the preparation time for the movie of Funny Girl, 1966, she and Elliot Gould welcomed their son Jason into the world, who they both adore to this day. But poor Elliot, I mean, this is a talented man who has had a truly fine career. He was in MASH. He's been in hit TV shows like Friends in major roles. He's been
Bob and Carol, Ted and Alice.
So much over the years. But there was, how many stars can compare to a comet that stays in the sky and refuses to move on to another galaxy? It just is always there. Streisand was so extraordinary. That must have put pressures that no normal marriage could have withstood at that time. Her performance in Funny Girl would bring her the Academy Award in your debut role on screen. She shared it, as you said, with Kate Hepburn, Lion and Winter, only time that there's been a tie in that category. During the making of Funny Girl, she had a very open and very public romance with her co-star, Omar Sharif. And the plan was, on the day of the wrap party, that the two of them would leave the wrap party together and their attorneys would send off notice of intent for divorce to their spouses because both were married with children. Mr. Sharif showed up for the wrap party. Mrs. Gould did not. He did not hear from her again. And as he told an interviewer at the time, I think her biggest problem is that she wants to be a woman and she wants to be beautiful, but she is neither. And when she was asked about that in an interview, she said, I am not a person who needs people.
No.
Now, fascinating.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm on camera.
Yes, I'm on camera again. This woman does not.
John.
No, I'm sorry. She does not play by anyone else's rules.
Mm-hmm.
Rules about fidelity, rules about don't sleep with the co-star, rules about what is accepted and when it. This is a woman who is going to do. Who does she think she is? A man?
Ooh, I think I will be conscious of this the next time we have our affair, when we're starring together in our next film. I'll have learned. Oh, thank you for that education, though.
Yeah, well, you're a little young for her, but that's another story.
Wow. Well, thank you, but
she does like young, but that's another story. Her next co-star was one she definitely would not have had an affair with. Hell, she could barely have a conversation with him.
But he was so good in that, wasn't he? He's so terrific.
Listen, I think Hello, Dolly is so underrated.
It is.
It's the greatest film it could have been, but it's still great fun and highly entertaining. Now, Walter, oh, by the way, anyone out there who wants to take part in this conversation, you are welcome to. Broadway by Ghostlight, you loved the Mae West story. New musical, the Mae West story. Actually, Broadway by Ghostlight, you may know this already, but Bette Midler is going to be starring in a TV movie about Mae West for HBO, I believe. So that is in the works. We're going to get something soon in that regard. Well, when she worked on Hello, Dolly with Walter Matthau, she had just won the Oscar for Funny Girl. He had just gotten one for Odd Couple. Not for Odd Couple, for
Cactus,
Fortune Cookie.
Yes, there you go.
And so each one had their Academy Award to wave at the other. Gene Kelly, the director, was just between the two of them trying to keep this massive production moving. And at one point, she said, "You wouldn't know what it's like to work with a co-star with talent." And he looked at her and memorably said in front of the entire cast and crew, "You have about as much talent as a butterfly's fart."
Oh, wait a second, John. I'm sensing a lot of negativity.
No, I'm just saying now the funny thing is they eventually not only patched that up, but because of their common political beliefs, they wound up doing a lot of fundraising together for the Clintons.
Okay, you were going to say they slept together. I was going to go, what?
One film that did not come together well, and that's because of the studio cutting the budget at the last minute, was On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever. Director Vincent Minnelli's
see more than that in this picture.
Director Vincent Minnelli's work on this picture was compromised, and that's a darn shame. Pardon me, I have a misbehaving cat here. Hello, dear. Yes, I'm on with your Uncle Billy, and the whole world's watching. So that film was a disappointment.
That's a bit generous, but anyway, go.
But the way we were. Now, here's a star that no matter what she wanted, he was very devoted to his wife at the time. So nothing came out of it except
that
a beautiful
hair, that body, the uniform. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about him.
Oh, yeah, I know. not only that body, but the hair on that body. I mean, he was just, yeah, he was just gorgeous. Gorgeous. He was gorgeous. Now, she does have some very interesting, purported relationships in her life. Certainly, whether or not she ever intended to become the Queen of England, who knows? But, I mean, what was Bette Midler's famous line? I said I would take a crack at him, not throw my crack at him, about Prince Charles.
And we lose England. Going on.
Another co-star who would not consider romantic entanglement with her, and poor her, was James Caan, who played Billy Rose in The Wonderful Funny Lady. Frankly, James Caan looks about as much like Billy Rose as I look like Mickey Mouse. There's not much of a resemblance other than eyes, a nose, 2 feet, 2 hands. Billy Rose, as Groucho Marx famously remarked, stood well over 4 foot. James Caan is a little different than that. But I think he's wonderful in this film. I think that it's a pity he didn't sing more. He's actually got quite a fine little smoky baritone. Now, some of her other relationships, the woman has been around. God bless her. She could have been the mother of Prime Minister Trudeau because she was dating his daddy, Prime Minister Trudeau the First. Wouldn't that have been interesting? First Lady of Canada. Of course, her famous relationship with Andre Agassi, which marked her as a bit of a cougar at the time. And then her relationship with her hairdresser, John Peters.
Hair.
Now look at the hair. By God, the hair we had back in the late 20th century. But he was not only a hairdresser, he turned out to be a very positive presence in her career for a time. And he was a major factor in her making the movie A Star Is Born. Now, frankly, I'm a Judy Garland fan. I prefer her version of A Star Is Born, but I sure as hell prefer Barbra Streisand's version to the more recent one. It just seems to be devolving as show business devolves.
Oh my God! Wait, what? I'm sorry.
But when
is that in our script? I don't see that in our script. I do not. No. Look at my card. No. But it has that wonderful song, which was my wedding song.
Evergreen.
Oh, beautiful.
Williams, who co-wrote it with her, said working
and
with
she wrote the music, not the lyrics. Music.
Right. Paul Williams said working with Barbara is like having a picnic at the end of an airport runway. So it's
okay. Obviously, I'm not doing well at this.
It's a challenge. I am a realistic Barbara fan. One of the things we love her for is she can be tough as nails. She's no wimp. She doesn't just go for royalty. There are, of course, legends of something happening between her and Mr. Clinton.
She got his mic up anyway.
I was going to say, but then what woman didn't apparently go after Bill? I don't know what they saw, but what the heck, I guess Arkansas has to have something. Now, her relationship with her mother and her sister has always been interesting. Her sister is a fine singer in her own right. All her mother ever did was bitch. Her mom said, you living out in Hollywood while we're still stuck back here in Brooklyn. All you ever do is send money. God forbid you should move us out to Hollywood, give your sister some help with her career. So what did she do? She bought them a condo in Hollywood, exactly what her mother asked for. And no sooner did they move in than her mother started saying, oh, sure, an apartment in Hollywood in a lousy neighborhood full of gays and black people. What, this is where you stuck me? This is where you want us to be? No matter what Barbara did, it was never enough. When her mother died and someone expressed sympathy, she said, no, when her mother came down with Alzheimer's and someone expressed sympathy, she said, no, it's all right. At least now she's forgetting to be angry with me. Now, in her own right, Barbara has been a very loving and supportive mother of her son. Here, she got him a part in the movie Prince of Tides.
Just gorgeous.
A fine movie. Why is it? She directs a movie, she produces it, she stars in it, and nothing from the Academy. The Academy ignores her. We'll get there in a minute. The person who definitely gets her and who's very much been there for her, who knew she could marry Marcus Welby's assistant, right? This I remember as a kid watching Marcus Welby and even thinking, oh God, why doesn't my doctor look like this guy? But they have a great relationship. What one person close to her has said is this is the strong father in her life that she's been missing ever since her dad died. But she's strong enough in her own right. That home of hers, she did the interior design.
There's a book on it. I was showing that before.
You showed it. She is acclaimed for what she did in that house. Her dressing room alone is like a museum. It's phenomenal. Now, as far as musicals go, she has been threatening for years to do a new film version of Gypsy, co-starring the great John Travolta.
John Travolta?
Yes, he was the one who was up for the role of Herbie in Gypsy.
Really?
But before this, she threatened for 10 years to do Annie, Get Your Gun. She held the rights to it for more than a decade, but it went nowhere. Now, of course, with the release of Release Me 2, she has, hi, here we are. Okay, hey, nothing wrong with a beverage.
Still, I need a light that says you're on. Sorry, go on.
We'll have to.
When we have our studio, yes.
Exactly. Release Me, thanks to this, she is the first performer in history to have top 10 Billboard releases in 6 decades. 6 decades. So over 60 years in which she has been 6 decades in which she's been a potent force. And this, I think, is a crucial thing in trying
to... It might be more. Wait a minute. It was the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 10s, we're in the 20s. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's 6. I counted. I'm good at math. My checkbook is balanced. I still have checks left.
I'm a star. I have people do that for me.
She said, I'm a feminist, Jewish, opinionated, liberal woman. I push a lot of buttons. Boy, does she. Now, Bill, what was your first experience of Barbra?
Am I on?
Yes. What was your...
do now? Yes.
What was your first experience of Barbra?
I have no idea. Sorry.
Did you remember?
Yeah, no, fortunately you did. I certainly remember that my mother planned on taking us to Funny Girl, the movie, but something happened. So I know that didn't happen. So I'm going to say, obviously in the high school time is when the hits that weren't 60, you know how the 60 songs don't necessarily appeal to me because that's not quite my era, I'm more the 70s, so the Main Event and Evergreen and the Eyes of Laura Mars and The Way We Were, all that stuff was when I began to notice her. And definitely by our freshman year in college, I remember a fellow classmate, John DeTizio, being extremely into, being extremely into her. And for whatever it was a major, it just was an influence. And he practically, adored her, and it got me interested. But she is amazing. The voice in particular.
For me, I don't know what year it was exactly, but because my sister was 6 years younger than me, she occasionally needed a babysitter if my parents went out. They didn't want me to be the babysitter. They're like, no, we're bringing a sitter so your sister doesn't sit there disagreeing with you. My sister could be really disagreeable. She still is. She's the person who introduced alligator wrestling to Queens. Yeah, she's a fascinating young lady. And that was at age 6. But
again, John, please tell us how you really feel.
So the babysitter where we were, who came over was a young lady who was a family friend. And she said, the movie Funny Lady is on TV for the first time tonight. We're watching it. Are you all right with that? I was like, sure. I had seen Barbra Streisand on television, but I'd never really connected with her. And we watched from, start of the overture to the final notes of, oh, my man, I love him so. And
oh, wait, Funny Lady or Funny Girl?
Funny Girl. She's Funny Girl.
Okay, you said Funny Lady.
I'm sorry, Funny Girl. So this would have been, you figure the film came out in 69. It had to be like 71,
68.
68. So it's probably 70, 71, company year, around the time of Company. Oh my God, I was laughing so hard. Her comedy is what I knew.
The roller skating scene.
Oh, you are woman, isn't
and
it?
the restaurant.
Furnishing a bed in restaurants. And I felt so sophisticated as an elementary school kid that I understood was a bit of pate. I drink it all day. I got the joke. So
because John,
I watched Julia Child and I knew what pate was.
Because John,
but I knew what it was.
We are gay, and therefore we know these things. Let's just be honest. The whole name of the show is "Why Do Gays Love Barbra Streisand?"
I watched Julia Child every week. Boy, was I gay. I was kitchen gay. That's the serious gay. I want to do an episode one day on why do gays love Julia Child. That would be such fun. Now we're going to make noodle dough. But back to Barbra. Barbra, she could make us laugh. Then she turns around and knocks you down with one of those ballads like My Man. And that's when I started following her with a vengeance. When I was a sophomore in high school.
What was that?
That was cat play. Here they go.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was again. It was sorry.
No. That's cats. That's cats in action.
I know. I thought it was your husband again, just doing his thing.
No, that's our cats. That's our cats. When I was a sophomore in high school, my father, the cop, and my mother, the Catholic school librarian, would not let me go to the city alone at age 14. And I lived in Queens, a 20-minute train ride from the theater district, and they wouldn't let me go alone. So one day I was on a student council project because I was on student council, and I lied because that night Funny Lady was having its first night.
John, were you in a Catholic school?
I certainly was.
Well, I'm appalled.
Senior McClancy Memorial High School in East Elmhurst, Queens, still alive and kicking. And they still have nothing to do with me because I'm publicly gay. I think that's fascinating. They don't have that many published authors among their alumni.
You're gay?
Yeah. Oh boy, slightly. But I went to see the first. I went to Lowe's East, the Lowe's East Theater, which was in the 80s, and a great neighborhood, so safe as could be. Saw the movie, came home, sat down, looked at my parents, and they said, "So how was the student council thing?" I was like, "Fine, that ended at 4:00 this afternoon. I just went to see Funny Lady in the city." And from that point on, I had permission to go into the city.
You saw Funny Lady then?
Funny Lady, yes. Okay. So from that point on, I had permission to go see things in the city alone.
Do you know that I know a lyric from that in my head, and I do not want to wait so I can do it? Hold on. Standing in the wings, all prepared to start. Usually I'm tense, a pounding in my heart, but now I'm not afraid. Those butterflies are gone. My act is looking great. I can't wait to go on. How do I know that? I cannot name half the last names of some of my ex-employees, but I do remember the names of my managers, but I can't remember the employees. Isn't that amazing?
It's a damn good song. One of the great things about musical sequels tend to suck, or at least they sip.
It wasn't great. I mean, it was good.
Oh, yes, it was, because in my opinion, because it did not try to copy the formula of the original. And they didn't even go with the same songwriters. They went with another great team. Instead of Julie Stein, they went with Kander and Ebb. And Kander and Ebb are not exactly small potatoes.
They wrote that? I should know that.
Yeah, they wrote great songs.
They wrote the album, but
songs for that
in a mess someplace.
One of the best songs I think ever written for her in film, How Lucky Can You Get? That's a marvelous song, and that's
Oscar nomination for that.
And Lord, that dress that's plunged down to here, you go, Miss Honey. She looks amazing. The woman looked and sounded like solid gold from buttah in every scene. And now here's a fun story though. And then
if you slept with her, then I cannot deal with it. Okay.
So they wanted her Nick Arnstein from Funny Girl to come back and appear in a couple of scenes in this movie. Now remember, Omar Sharif. Now remember, they had an affair, and she had cut him dead after the film. So it was in his contract that he was to have minimal contact with Miss Streisand. She is to have no authority over him on or off the set, and their conversation was to be limited to rehearsal of dialogue.
Wow.
He was not giving her any room. Excuse me a second.
What is happening? Is it the cats again?
Yes, the cat went for the Kleenex box. It's her new thing. One of them loves the Kleenex box. Hence everything's shaking. But everyone in the end got along. No one smacked anyone. No one screamed at anyone. And I think it's one of the better musical sequels. Far better, not something that deserved to be in, like the Disney musical sequels that are direct to video out of hunger. It's not like that. The only Disney sequel that is not going direct to video is going to be Frozen 2.
Okay.
All right. Fine. We'll see where that goes. We'll talk about that when it comes out. Go ahead.
I just want to say before time is up, favorite Streisand moment. Okay, so I'll give you a chance to think about it. There is a lot. Yentl, of course, also Yentl, which she's in the
underestimated masterpiece. That film is freaking brilliant.
Yes, and her co-star just looks fabulous in it. But back to her. It's really a great movie. But I want to say that if I was asked, so John, if you were to say, Bill, what is your favorite Barbra Streisand moment? Remember that concert I talked about that I paid an awful lot of money for because it was going to be her last concert. I even had the last night at Madison Square Garden. A lot of money. Okay. And it was worth every dime. But the end of Act 1, yes, she broke it up into acts. She does from Yentl, Papa, Can You Hear Me? And Just a Piece of Sky. Earlier in the show, she did her life. So she has a girl playing her as a child, And so the end of the act is her singing this, and up on the screen would be Barbra Streisand singing live. In other words, she's on the screen too. And then she has her character, the clip from the movie, and the girl at the same time. And they do that thing where they turn at the end. Oh my God. I thought I was going to need a towel. It was amazing. And what's that thing that you do where the audiences go nuts? You make all those sounds and stuff. It went on and on. It was really, really great. Yeah. She is a couple weeks ago when we were doing Judy Garland. Why do gays love Judy Garland? And I kind of looked at you and I was like, yeah, she's great. I mean, she's great. But then we had that clip of Judy Garland and Barbra Streisand, and I suddenly went like this. And went, now that one, we all have the reaction that we have. I don't really love the "why do gays love" thing. I have no idea because there's lots of straight men, who also love Barbra Streisand, and plenty of straight women and lesbian women, but I don't know what it is, John. And maybe you can answer now. Why do gays love Barbra Streisand? I don't know, but she is probably my favorite, certainly my favorite singer of ever. And there's a lot of good ones, a lot. Oh, yeah. And usually I do prefer females, although there's other, men too. But Streisand is just a thing unto her. I don't like the word thing.
She's a phenomenon.
Yes. I just think it just is great. She's great.
First of all, as you saw from her personal story, the odds were not in this young woman's favor. She did it on talent and guts.
And determination, her way.
There are only two ways a woman has succeeded in show business over the years. One is to have someone who can be a son of a bitch on her behalf, like a tough agent, a tough parent, a tough husband. Mary Martin had a husband who was an absolute SOB on her behalf. Or you have to do it like Merman or Streisand did it, by being a totally tough SOB woman on your own behalf. She is tough on her own. She swims with the sharks as a shark. Don't mess with her. She's learned every trick in the book.
But she's usually right. She's right. I'm sure there's mistakes, but not a lot.
My favorite Streisand moment, and I know it's one everyone who loves her loved, is when she showed up on Coffee Talk on Saturday Night Live with Linda Richman, Madonna, and Roseanne on the sofa. doing their spilkes, and out she comes.
And no one knew she was coming. None of those actors knew.
No,
Only the producer knew.
You
and the
could see
director.
the total shock on all of their faces. Imagine what it takes to shock Madonna. That's not an easy person to shock, but you could see that they were all verklempt. They were all. I'm getting verklempt just thinking about it now. Wait, hold it. Talk amongst yourselves, Bill. I'll give you a topic. Prince of Tides. It was neither about princes nor tides. Discuss. Okay, I'm fine now. I'm better. Why do we love Streisand? Why do gays love Streisand? Her guts, her determination, and the thing that we cannot resist as gays. Talent beyond talent. She's a magnificent actress, magnificent singer. She does it all.
And unique.
And she can produce it. She can
direct
it. She can come up with the whole package. And she can design a house. I don't know if she can cook, but who cares? That's what
you know what? I don't know. I know she likes Entenmann's. She used to love an Entenmann's cake. I forgot which one, but Roseanne O'Donnell would know.
Rosie O'Donnell, of course. Yes. Rosie O'Donnell knows.
Did I say Roseanne O'Donnell? Oh my God.
That's all right. I think her real name would be Roseanne. I don't know.
It probably is, but yeah.
Yeah, I never dared ask her when I worked with her. It just never came up. I was always happy to not be in the line of fire. That's always the good thing when you're working with Rosie O'Donnell. As long as you're not in the line of fire, life is good. And I only dealt with her briefly because then came who replaced her in Grease? Oh, it was Jan Brady.
Oh,
yeah. Who seemed determined from day one to make sure everyone involved in Grease would wish that Rosie was back.
Our viewers, John is talking about not being in the revival of Grease, but he was one of the people associated with the producers with the revival of Grease. Just in case I'm sitting there going, were you on the stage with them? But yes.
Oh no, God forbid. I was never an actor. I was never a waiter in my life.
Yes, you were. You were not. Okay, maybe not professional.
Never a waiter. I was a manager. I was a maitre d'.
No, I'm talking about actor. You were an actor, just not necessarily professional.
I was an actor for free in college. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. And a couple of community theater productions. Big deal, All right. You really did it. No, please. I didn't. No. So she's from Buttah. We love her. Now, let's get to current events, shall we?
The reason I'm making a face is because, wait a minute, I know what's coming, so I just have to take a little Valium. Hold on. Okay. What John is going to be talking about is something that has just come out from the Actors Equity Union, etc. And I'm just going to let John take it from here, and then I will interrupt if I need to or comment when I want to.
All the leadership in the Broadway business, producers, actors have come together, the unions, etc., and they've been trying to come to greater understandings of what inclusiveness and diversity could bring to the table on Broadway. And this is a very real concern. I mean, we all remember the Black Lives Matter protests of last year. I was totally in favor. It was, of course, regrettable when there was violence, but sometimes violence is an inevitable part of releasing anger
and change.
And there was a lot of anger, and anger helps bring about change. The new inclusive plan that they're now going to pursue will not only look to bring more Black performers to Broadway, but producers have agreed to now have creative teams be more inclusive of a Black presence. So no more all white creative teams behind shows. And each of the three companies that own theaters, the Jujamsons, the Schuberts, and the Nederlanders, each company will rename one of its theaters in the near future after a major Black figure in the history of American theater. There is currently only one Broadway theater named for an African American. the August
Not
Wilson.
me, August Wilson. Yeah. The reason I raised my hand is I did my thesis on him in,
Yeah.
not my thesis, but kind of my
I got
thesis.
to meet him once.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
I would have liked him.
He was a very sweet, very down-to-earth man. And I think his plays are just out of this world.
And they're becoming more and more and more important.
They are a chronicle of the gay experience in the 20th century. What he set out to do.
A chronicle of the gay experience?
I'm sorry, of the black experience.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Pardon I misspoke. Now I'm all verklempt.
It's okay. It's okay. You said nothing terrible, and I was here to fix that.
But I went,
really?
No. Silly me.
I did my thesis, and I missed most of that.
Now, I am totally in favor of increased diversity on Broadway. Totally in favor of inclusion. But this announcement leaves some unanswered questions, and it concerns me. So let's say that I've got a group of people in Canada who put a show together, something like Come From Away. Does that show now only come to Broadway after we have replaced some of our cast and or creative team with Black people from New York? Is that essential?
They have to be from New York?
Well, where else are they going to come from if they're going to work in theater?
Okay, because Come From Away does have Black characters.
Yes, but does it have Black contributors to the show in terms of the creative team? I don't know. Does a British show coming to Broadway have to now add Black people to the creative team? And once Blacks have been included, do we also now start saying, are we going to, sorry, Cranky Squirrel, it wasn't a major August Wilson revelation, it was just a flub on my part. He said, I too thought we just got a major August Wilson revelation. No, sorry about that. And well, so are we going to now have a gay percentage in every creative team and cast? Are we now going to have a female? Women are they going to get a percentage? If we get a Latin percentage, will it have to be a certain percentage who are lighter skinned and a certain percentage who are darker skinned, which was the big complaint about the cast of In the Heights, the movie? The movie, yes. Where does this go?
I'm going to interrupt slightly in something actually about me. First, please know, now I hope I don't know my figures entirely, and I'm going to be direct about films that want to be nominated for an Academy Award. And that's very specific. The Academy has stated that if you want your film to be nominated for or considered for an Academy Award, therefore it must have a certain percentage of, and this is a combination, so of African American, I believe Asian, Latin, female, and or gay. I'm not sure there has to be any kind of combination of that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is it's similar to this, except for right now is only one group involved in this. But for somebody like me, an actor, at first I was like, uh-oh. And then I went, well, wait a minute, I'm gay. And so how am I changing what I'm doing? I'm putting together, I'm starting, actors now need websites. We no longer hand out 8x10s with a resume on the back. It's a website.
Resume is going to be online. Yep.
And when you open up my website, we were literally discussing that this week, the designer and I, and we're not agreeing at the moment. I want it said near the top, which I've never done before. When I was a younger actor, I never said I was gay. I knew it would prevent me from working. And I was often cast as traditional straight. So cops, a lot. You get the idea. Okay. So get gay, although I would love to play gay. Please.
Mr. G just asked us, how will we know if these people are actually gay? Well, I guess we're going to have to take their word for it, Mr. G.
So what I was going to do on my website is, and I can't believe I'm going to do this yet. I'm kind of thinking, well, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to have, under the weight and the hair color and the voice, all those things the actor is supposed to put, I'm going to write LBGTQ in parentheses gay. And that is stating that I'm gay. And so therefore, if you have 8 cops and you're going, oh God, we don't have enough gays, then maybe I'll be the one chosen. Is that right? I don't know. But that's what I'm probably going to do. My designer's concerned because she thought, well, are they only going to cast you to play a gay role? And I'm going, I don't think so. They're just looking for a gay actor to play any part. It doesn't matter what. And so could it work in my favor? Maybe. So in a way, I could get an advantage. Or because I'm a white male, I might not.
On a light note, Cranky Squirrel, as you see on screen, has said, that is what casting couches are for. Okay, thank you, Cranky Squirrel.
Not at my age. I don't think so.
And Mr. G just thinks that's hilarious. Okay, thank you, Mr. G.
And what's happening to art? And then and then let you continue. Well, but what matters is it should be the art. So I'm a little worried. On the other part, I'm excited. This could be great for me. Audra McDonald has certainly. She was cast in Carousel, and they didn't care about the color. And we got her as a result, and thank God.
She was apparently very involved in the creation of this new plan. So she's been a big supporter of the idea.
And an example of how it works.
I don't want anyone to think that I am opposed to this. I'm not opposed. Listen, you and I grew up in the 1960s when the only gay
Sons of Cops.
The Sons of Cops, Sons of Irish Cops. Yes. Mr. G, is art gay? Oh, that is a question we can ask in a separate episode. And I like the question, but bear with me here. When we were growing up gay in the 60s, the only gay presence we saw in media was Paul Lynde, Charles Nelson Riley, and Liberace. That's what was out there.
And I was so dense, I didn't know they were gay.
They were, but we knew they were different.
I knew they were different, yes.
And I knew Liberace had something in common with me other than being half Italian. I knew there was something there. I knew with Paul Lynde. Eddie Fisher recently said, I'm sorry for them both. Who was he referring to? His fans. I knew what, there was that sense of humor. To the question, is art gay? Cranky Squirrel has replied, it is when I do it. Good for you, Cranky Squirrel. But
oh God,
we need I am all in favor of an increased multiracial, more diverse presence in the performing arts. But I'm worried about the creative teams. The people who create a Broadway show, who bring the first productions into workshop, those people for at least 3 to 5 years do it all on spec. They do not get a penny for spending years writing the show, composing the music, developing it, getting it through workshops. You don't get paid for that as a creative person. The money comes later after a show comes as option for Broadway. That's when you start getting some income after you have put years of effort and talent into it. Now, when I'm planning, I can't just pick the best people who want to be part of my team. I now have to have this as part of the planning. I now have to make my team of people racially diverse, whether the material demands it or not. I also would like to know, when a Black play with Black characters and Black content, like Passover, the new play that opened on Broadway this week, in future, will plays like that have to bring in white talent as part of the team? Is this going to work both ways? Are we finally going to see a Black King George and a white George Washington in Hamilton? Are we going to have diversity all over the place? Let's make it part, I would want to see it as part of the whole Megillah, not just going in one direction. I would ask anyone who watches this, whether you're watching now live, as some are, or if you are watching in the near future when this is on YouTube, please join in this discussion. We would love to hear your feedback and hear your ideas. I think this is one of the truly exciting things to be happening right now as theater hopes to reopen in the fall. Let's talk about it. Let's really get behind this. And if it's something we should be behind, question it if we should question it. I think that it's an exciting possibility. I think you do too, Bill. There's something great happening here. I want to thank everyone for just celebrating the divine Barbra with us tonight, for getting verklempt with us. Oh my God. From buttah, hotel bar. Start me, hotel bar. It's been a great pleasure. Next week, we're taking a little break because I have a speaking engagement this Thursday. But on September 2nd, we're going to be interviewing actor and now talent agent. He's part of a talent agency, Jack Flatley, who was a student of mine at NYU, a very talented young man. And we'll be talking with him about how he's building a career in show business. In weeks to come, we're going to be talking with performers. We're going to be talking with a Broadway producer.
Who? Well, what show?
Valentina, another former student of mine, who is one of the producers of the upcoming revival of Company.
Yes, she is the producer of Company.
One of the, of course, when you say the producer, you're part of the mishpocha of producers. It's an army now. But she's a wonderful young lady, and you're going to love meeting her. Others are coming, and it's
the Tony Awards. We're going to be covering the Tony Awards,
and we will have an episode covering the Tonys when they happen on those two very different. A few minutes on network television and a whole lot of time on a streaming service very few people have. And we'll see how all that works out. Thank you all. It has been a joy and pleasure, and let us all bring a little joy and Barbra into our lives.
Remain evergreen.
And keep loving musicals, everybody. Bye-bye, gorgeous.